Hello, fellow pickles. I have recorded 2 episodes. It was really originally one big episode that I had to break into 2 parts. The first part was episode 76, so if you haven't listened to that, please go back, and so that you have a better understanding of Carl Jung's shadow work. I think it's a great exploration. In this episode, I am discussing the work that I mentioned that you can do yourself if you want to do your own shadow work, or you can find someone like me who's willing to coach you through the shadow work that you're trying to do. I hope you enjoy this episode. Again, listen to episode 76 that discusses what shadow work really is, so that it won't be quite so confusing. At the end of this video, I will provide some journal prompts to help you conduct your own shadow work. Enjoy this next episode, and please stay tuned to the end for all of the prompts that I promised. Thanks. So what do you do about it? Carl Jung wrote a lot about it. I help people. There are a lot of coaches out there doing shadow work. And shadow work is helping yourself or helping others integrate the repressed parts of yourself and making them part of your conscious and an integral part of your personality. And even though some of the repressed qualities seem bad, the truth is they're just underdeveloped. And you can think of it like your shadow is the one place where all of your potential resides. But the one thing you need to do is go back and retrieve those parts of you so that you can develop them, and so you can become the person you need to be the fullest evolved person that you possibly can be, to reach your goals, to overcome the challenges you're facing. And believe it or not, everything you experience is trying to help you get to your whole potential. That is my entire work at Rising Tide. It's why I created Inside the Pickle Jar. I want to help people overcome all the challenges and experience all the opportunities and have all the experiences that they possibly can, in order to help them become aware of the parts of themselves and giving you the opportunity to bring them all together and become a whole person. So the biggest part of shadow work Jung calls is a process that he calls individuation. And that's kind of creating a line of communication between your conscious and your unconscious. And he talks about dreams and imagination and archetypes, and a lot of other ways you can integrate these things. I've mentioned this a few times in my Commit 30, where I'm tracking my dreams. We'll talk more about working with dreams as part of shadow work later. But the goal of shadow work is just to become more aware of the shadow, so now you know a little bit more about it, but to also understand the influence that it has on your life, and then you can go back and retrieve the repressed parts, grow them, develop them, so that they become actually a strength, and they become just a part of you. They're not good or bad. They become a core part of who you are. And if you've learned to suppress your aggression, then a lot of your problems in life are going to be connected to this. A lot of my problems in life have been because I'm too giving and I'm too easygoing and I don't honor my own needs. It's just that it's become part of your unconscious, a part of your shadow, and you're never going to have control over it, and its influence is always going to show up, most likely in very destructive ways. But it could be productive. And if you're going to be in situations where what you're missing is this very quality, so if you really need to be more assertive, but you're having a hard time putting up boundaries like I do, then it's because you're missing this piece. You haven't developed your aggression, which is a tool of strength for a lot of people, but I don't know how to bring it forward until I just am so mad and upset And I have this very strong urge to correct all of the unfairness in the world, but then I have this conflict with my easygoing self. And so how do I use my aggression in a positive way and develop it in the situations where I need? Because I know that there have been a lot of times where I have always suppressed it, and I have been used by relationships in my life. And the few times where I leaned in with my aggression and I protected myself, it always turned out to be to my benefit. But it made me really uncomfortable, and I didn't go back there very often. But maybe you have learned that there's a wrong way to express your anger, and you have suppressed it. And then it's been so long that you're afraid if you let any of it out, it's going to ruin your life. And then it'll be out of control. And so you have to continue to suppress your anger. So it just starts creating more and more problems. And it's really important that you understand that you need to go back and retrieve your anger. Retrieve that part of yourself from your shadow. And then get to know it, learn to control, work with it, develop it, and use it in all of the challenges that you're facing so that you can integrate all the lost parts of yourself. You'll be given opportunities if you start working on this to develop them, to bring you closer to your whole self, to your potential self, to the very person that you've always wanted and needed to be. And I think this is especially important for my neurodivergent community, to learn how to go back. And if you have ADHD, how do you go back to all of those things that you suppressed and are like living in the shadows, and adopt them so that you can be fully you, even though you have ADHD, accept yourself, and move forward in a more authentic way. So here's a few ways that you could do your own shadow work if you don't have a coach like me that you can work with. Is you can work with your archetypes. You can do some journaling. I talk a lot about journaling. I have some journal stuff that I do, artistic journaling that I do, and I do some of that in my Patreon, and I do some of it through my YouTube videos. You can do therapy, obviously. There's a long list. It goes on. And it will be different for everybody. You have to find what you believe will work for you. But when you are doing shadow work, one of the things that you can do is to start doing some journaling. The first step is to visualize your dream life. And so you visualize your dream life. It can be really hard to think about what your dream life could be because your shadow is such a major part of your life right now. And you're probably feeling triggered. So instead of just going out there and going, oh, I can figure out what my dream life is, there are some prompts that I can give you to start journaling about this. But journaling is a really good way. I know that the Unexpected Gypsy talks about how she's journaled to help solve some of these things and work through her past. But when you start to journal, it taps into your unconscious mind and become aware more of your repressed desires. And it can help you focus on your dreams, not life goals. Life goals are part of your ego. And they're part of a persona and the reality that you would like to be. A lot of times you'll start to doubt them, and you don't want to work on them, and you start doubting yourself, and you think that you can't do it because you're not disciplined enough, or you're not smart enough, but dreams are part of your imagination, and they tap into your unconscious. And if you can build a fantasy life about what would be the most liberating, the most freeing, the most authentic life that you could ever imagine, and then write this down. These will be your true desires, and you can write all this down. And then I'll show you some ideas for how you can start triggering these thoughts and using your imagination. Then when you start writing all the things down, you'll go back and read through your dream life. And you're going to have some ideas about these. You're going to have some thoughts about, oh, I'm never going to do that. That's never going to work. Start to challenge those limiting beliefs. You can say, like, for example, if you wrote down something that you really wanted to do, and then you start asking why, and you just keep saying, well, why do you think that you can't do this? If it's something like, for myself, I would like to be a world-renowned coach that helps people reach their goals and helps heal their souls and brings their shadow self and their unconscious together with their conscious and with their persona, and get rid of their persona altogether would be ideal. And I look at that and I say, oh, I could never do that. Well, why? Why could I never do that? First of all, it's really easy to just put this off because the parts of you that doubt you, they're holding you back. Your shadow is in control, and it's afraid to let these monkeys out of the shadows. And just realize that these are just undeveloped strengths that you're trying to bring out into the light of day. You thought they were weaknesses. You thought that they were things you had to hide. But you don't have to hide these anymore. Continuing to lock away the missing pieces of you, just know that you're keeping them, you're keeping the most vital parts of you away that will help you be successful. Every dream you have is going to be overshadowed because it will want to try to protect you. So you're always going to be walking the fine line. So if you write these dreams down, and let's say, I want to be a successful writer, or I want to be the best coach ever, then you say something like, I'm never going to start. I'll just be a failure. Start to ask yourself, why? Why do you believe this about yourself? If you see a lot of thoughts coming up and you have all these limiting beliefs because you never actually go deeper, I don't ever just stop with, I just can't. It's a very easy out, and it's quick to just go there and to answer a lot of things with, I just can't. Question, why can't you? Why can't you become a great writer? Well, I don't have any good ideas. Why don't have any good ideas? I'm just not disciplined enough. These are all tied to your self-image. And that's when you have to start challenging the stories that you tell about yourself. And that you really, like, if you really want to start living all the life that you want, you have to start dealing with the shadow parts of you. And there's always this initial feeling of unfulfillment that you'll have when you look at the differences between what you want and the life that you dream of and where you are, because your shadow has left this gap for you. And you're never going to be fully fulfilled unless you go in and you retrieve the missing pieces, the parts that are repressed. And the idea is that shadow work is, the goal of it is to really dig into the stories that you have and question them until you find the root. Where is this living in your shadow? What are the things that are holding you back now? And then try not to judge all of the thoughts that come up. Just keep writing and get it all out. You may spend 15 or 30 minutes of journaling. Just let it all flow out. Keep saying, why? Why are you believe this about you? And that, know that these are the thoughts that you usually try to avoid because it feels like confrontation. And you think, man, why do I think all these things about myself? You may feel even very triggered. Just let it come out and work through, like, start diving into all these thoughts that you have that are holding you back, that you're thinking less of yourself, why you're coming up with excuses, why do you lack self-trust, why do you have an unconscious goal of avoiding tasks? a lot of times, I had a whole episode on procrastination, and I talked about how if you actually try to do this thing that you've always been trying to do, and then you fail, you have a fear of failure, maybe you're a perfectionist, yet you're going to put yourself down, you're going to hate yourself. Well, this is more shadow talk. It's saying to you, I'm going to fail, people won't like me, they'll stop loving me. And those limiting beliefs will continue to hold you back. And over time, it will just keep you from all of your goals. It's, the message that it's telling your ego is that what's driving your self-sabotaging behaviors is that the only solution is to avoid the risk of failure. And so you come up with all of these excuses why you shouldn't even start. Because if you do, then you might not be successful. And if you do the shadow work, you'll start to unravel all of these weird excuses that you keep making for yourself. You start realizing that you can cut into these excuses and work through them. But until you get to the bottom of it, you're never going to get out of the rut that you're in, the feelings of unfulfillment. And once you understand where they're living in your shadow, then you can take step 3 and you can start integrating those pieces and bring them out of the shadow. And that involves accepting and developing your shadow traits. And the first thing you need to do is to realize when you're doing this work is that having bad qualities doesn't make you a bad person. Jung said that that you can't be a good person until you realize your capacity for evil. And I don't mean you're acting out on it in the world, but just understanding it and holding it out in the light and bringing it under control to do what you need to do to face it and accept it and let it become a part of you. And then you get to choose to keep yourself big or small. So bring it out into the light. Maybe you don't trust yourself right now, but you can take little tiny baby steps of integrating yourself so that you're not so scared the next time these things come up. Because when we're scared, it's because we can't control it. And I know that I have spent a lot of years not being able to express uncomfortable emotions like aggression, but it didn't make me a happier person. It actually just made me incapable of expressing my opinion. And expressing my opinion doesn't make me a bad person. It actually makes me a good person because I'm taking care of myself. If you bring it out of the shadow, you learn how to control and access your own power. And then you can stop being afraid of the things that you deem bad that are inside of you. That was one of the big takeaways from Carl Jung, because at the time there was a lot of negative stigma around the unconscious mind and around the unknown. And Jung actually believes that the conscious and the unconscious mind have capacity for evil, and nothing is ever black or white. Both can be true. And it's only going to hurt you if you keep ignoring it. You can control your aggression and learn how to use it, like I have learned to do, because it will protect my values and the people that I love. But if I continue to suppress it, then I won't ever be able to express my point of view and stand up for things that I believe are right. I am moving past where I realize it's not going to ruin my life if I have an opinion. I'm not saying that you should just let it all go and be completely unrestrained if you have fear, or if you have anger, or if you have tenderness that you've been afraid to show. You don't just all of a sudden flip the switch, but learn how to use it appropriately. Because someone who's not afraid to express their opinion and shows up as maybe a mean bully sometimes, but learns to have some tenderness, can be an advocate for those that are afraid, Maybe you're the person that can help save children from bad situations because you're not afraid to step forward, but you have tenderness for them. Start treating the shadow parts of your life like you would if you were a little kid again. And you take tiny steps. I don't know if you remember when I did this, but maybe you use this as inspiration for working on your shadow work. But you take tiny steps, and you can get more and more opportunities where you get to practice and accept yourself and understand that you will make mistakes. But know that you have the ability to love, and you have the ability to accept yourself. And if you continue to let your anger pile up and you don't really know where to start with, the only way to work through it is to make a plan. And you write down the tiniest steps possible to get started. How can I start expressing my opinion? How can I start developing my point of view? How can maybe you start expressing your anger? When it doesn't mean that you go into a full-blown rage. Maybe you say, that doesn't make me very happy. That upsets me. Maybe you start in a very calm way. Maybe you need to work with a therapist, or you could work with a coach if you want to talk about future plans. The more you practice, the more shadow work you do, the stronger you'll get, just like building a muscle. And there'll be times when you make a mistake and you say, I'm really sorry, I'm working on learning how to do this in a productive way, and I feel like that was unproductive, and I apologize if you were hurt. There's a lot of easy, simple steps that you can take, but you can start somewhere, and letting yourself be bad at it and showing yourself that you love yourself and that you'll be okay anyway, you can start to develop self-trust. And this will give you the experience that you need to trust your word to yourself. So kind of like when you start to run a marathon, you start with a 5K, and you start with couch to 5K, and you take baby steps. You take tiny steps. And it gets easier and easier because the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And maybe you start journaling your dreams. Maybe you start journaling your why you can't have your dream world. Start digging into the whys and bringing your shadow, the parts of your shadow self back. Eventually you will be able to go out and do things. You'll be able to express yourself and bring your shadow work forward. And so that you no longer have a shadow anymore. I hope you enjoyed part 2 and you got a lot of value out of understanding how to do your own shadow work. Also, if you didn't get a chance to listen to episode 76, once again, it's where I discuss what shadow work is. We'll be revisiting this quite a bit throughout the next year, as I think it's really important to understand how can we work on these aspects of ourselves, retrieve the parts of us that are hiding out in the shadows so that we can be whole people, especially if you're neurodivergent, you've spent a lot of time being unhappy with some of parts of you. Maybe you were told that they were bad and you had to hide them and that those parts could not be loved. And I'm here to tell you that all of you can be loved, and I would like for you to become a whole person. If you enjoyed this episode, if you enjoyed episode 76, please share this podcast or YouTube channel with those that you love and care about. I would love to spread the word, and I hope to bring you more of this kind of information. I want everyone to feel whole and valued and loved and understood. Big hugs from inside the pickle jar, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye.